I just love everything you put out. I mean, I just really appreciate you putting it out. I mean, so where's the creativity come from? I guess that's my question. You were doing these high school VCR to VCR. I wasn't that. I did VCR to VCR, but I wasn't that like quick in high school. A friend of mine, or this guy in my high school class, did that. Made this like horror movie VCR to VCR, and I was just like, whoa, that's genius. It took me another like 7 years, 10 years for me to understand that I was going to be a filmmaker. So I'm not that quick to figure out my destiny. You were doing it in high school.
Well, so I figured out real quick I remember the church and the setting. There was 100 youth at this particular church at the time. And I remember I did the first video and I just knew like, if I put this together this way, like I bet I can make people laugh. And so I would put it together and then I'd go and play it and I'd stand at the back of the room in the dark and they would play this thing. And then when everybody cracked up, it's like the best feeling ever. Cause you're like, I just made all these people laugh and you just, you set them all up. And so like that became like a major thing that I like to do is I would play a movie and then I'd sit at the back of the room and just watch people react. And the truth is if you're a filmmaker long enough, like even now with Breakers, when we premiered Breakers and did this stuff, by the time everybody else is seeing it, I've got every line memorized. I know every cut. I mean, it's so old school. There's no objectivity left. And so for me, I just sit around and I watch the room and I can tell from the look on this person or that person's face, is this working? Did it work? Did it get a response or did it not get a response or whatever? And so, for me, that was kind of a deal, but it's all about, the most powerful thing that I realized that you can do with the story is that you can take a thought. And if you tell the story right, you can put that thought in somebody else's head. It's kind of like the whole Inception thing.
Oh, yeah. It exactly is Inception. Exactly.
Yes. And if you do it right, you can put that thought in their head and then they carry that little thought around with them and that just bounces around their head and eventually it will come out. And so for me, it's never been about, telling stories to get people all the way to, where you're at Jesus. I'm more like the dude that picks up the guy on the mat. And it's like, let's carry the mat up there and we'll set him there and then let somebody else lower him down. And then by the time they get to Jesus, they'll do their thing. My job is just to put that little thought in there where they're like, hey, put me on this mat. I want to go over there. And that's that for me, that is the whole ministry is to just put thoughts in people's heads in that way. And so, unfortunately, that doesn't always work in the Christian film realm. They don't like it so or what was it, opaque? Maybe I don't know what the right word.
I think I don't know the word either. I think that's interesting because that whole not a parable, that story with Jesus. Those are the guys. I think if I remember correctly, you got the degree here in theology. If I remember correctly, those are the guys that got credited. Like your friends have faith.
Yeah.
Like those are the guys that got credited in that story for believing.
Right.
And doing the work. I think it's really cool. That's really interesting. I've not thought of that one before. It's a great.
Well, it's there's everybody thinks that the best thing is if they make a movie, they put it in the theater, and the person watches the movie, and then right then at the very end of that movie, when everyone's supposed to be tearing up, that's when the person in the audience suddenly comes to awareness of Jesus. And every now and then that actually does happen. So you can't say it doesn't happen because it actually can happen. Because God can do things like that. But I think for a lot of people, if you're viewing it like your success as a filmmaker on that, then I feel like you're missing out on, sometimes it's just the little things that get in there. Like that little idea can really change a person's life and start putting them down a path that will ultimately, get them there. Not all of us have to be like the closer. Some of us can just be the ones that puts those ideas in there and then trust that God brings the other people around to close and